Welcome, Cosmic Witches, to the Divine Gossip Girls podcast with your hosts, me, Maggie, Carly, and Sophie. And today we are doing something special for the first time. The lines are open, the call lines are open, and we are answering your questions on the Divine Gossip Girls hotline. We went to our Instagram pages and we asked you what your spiritual, witchy, and just soul aligned questions were, and we're going to answer them today. If you have any specific questions for future episodes of this, we are hoping to do it once a month for now. If you have any questions after hearing today's episode, you can email us at divinegossipgirls@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll be doing these once a month and can get to your questions. They will be completely anonymous unless you want us to include your name. If so, include that in the email. But otherwise, you will be totally anonymous and you just get your spiritual and witchy questions answered. So without further ado, we'll just jump into today's episode and get talking all things energy, magic, and spirituality. Hey, Cosmic Witches! Divine Gossip Girls here, your one and only source into the spiritual happenings of the cosmos.
Ever wonder what this month's energy will have in store for you? What the planets and stars are even up to? Or if the universe can just help you catch a break already?
Well, lucky you, because we have all the spiritual secrets to tell. Get ready to sip on your weekly dose of divine tea.
All right, so our first question here is someone who has tapped into some new spiritual abilities of their own. They said that they have sage, but what else could they use for protection from negative entities? I have so much to say about this. I think it's always important to protect your energy when you're tapping into that, spiritual other plane, other space, whatever you want to call it, realm or whatever you want to call it. But I do have a lot of very strong opinions on the idea of negative entities. But before I jump into it, do you guys have any go-to protection things that you
I feel like
to
Carly. I feel like Carly is going to have a lot.
Oh yeah.
And when this first question came up, I don't know if we want to bring it in to the conversation. We probably won't, but it just reminded me of the time that we had to.
No, literally, we
had to
though.
get an evil eye cleansed from us.
Yeah, because when we started the podcast, we had some bad encounters with some other podcast who wasn't happy with us, and we weren't doing anything wrong legally or anything like that, and we were just trying to do our own thing. But Carly actually had her friend remove this evil eye that had been set upon us, and we even had all of us feeling like we had been cursed or something.
Yeah,
and it was
literally
okay.
felt it. So I know that Carly's going to have a few key things for you guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. As a Reiki healer, you guys, and all the travel I've done, I feel like I have become so aware of protecting and cleansing my energy field, especially when you're going into healing, for you to not pick up on what you're cleansing away. You do have to ensure you're also being protected. And I know Maggie's going to tap into it, but I think a really big thing that keeps us open to I guess lower vibrational energy is the vibration of fear. And so a lot of times, what I have actually done to protect my energy is build a better relationship around lower vibrational energy, not fear it, because when you fear it, you automatically let down your guard, your power. When you're in your power, you literally become just see it as this big bright shield that's repelling energy. And so what I really did to be less fearful and less of a magnet to the moths, I say, the lower vibrations, because really what lower vibrations are, it's just energy that wants to also heal, ascend, and rise into the light. Everything just wants to be healed. Everything just wants to be in a place of love, in a place where it's unified back to the core essence of the universe. And so when we quote unquote talk about negative entities, just think of it as an inner child that's really sad. Like it went through something traumatic. Like it's just sad and it wants some sort of thing. And sometimes, we do negative coping things to like rise into the light to feel better. Like, substance abuse or like disordered patterns. And so really the reprogramming the way that I viewed lower, I guess, darker energies helped me to not fear them as much as a healer and as just a spiritually conscious individual. And that in itself has helped me a lot in not being as much of a magnet to them, because especially when I spiritually awakened, I was so scared of what I couldn't see, you guys. I think that's what prevented me so much to tap into my intuitive channeling abilities for a while. I was scared. So just reprogramming things so you don't fear it as much is really helpful. And Meg, you want
Yeah.
to add to that?
Yeah, I really agree. Like my really strong beliefs is that like out in that like quantum other realm area that there's not like demons and negative spirits and these things that want to like attach themselves to you. I think that's a lot of fear mongering done by people who want to like sell you a fix. I think for like years and years and years, it's been like, oh, well, let me, cleanse you of this evil spirit that's attached itself to you or these things. And I don't think, like you said, everything's just trying to make it to the light. And even like this solidified even deeper as a spiritual medium when I was like, there's no spirits that come to me and they're like evil spirits or they're angry and they want to like yell at someone or they want to wish harm upon someone. Like once you're in the light, you see the much bigger picture and understanding. And a lot of the times it's just like, I want to guide you. I want to help you. Like I know you were angry with me when I passed, but I don't hold that anger. I just want you to heal from it. And you get to see the much bigger picture. And I think the negative energy that does attach itself, or the lower vibrational energy that does attach itself, it's not from these scary things that we can't understand. It's like human to human. Like even when we did the evil eye, it was because like a human who was feeling some sort of way sent it towards us. Like I really think that yes, you can protect your energy using things that are like, crystals you can use or like onyx and obsidian. Something I've been really getting into is like using a veil. I really want to find like a veil to use to help me feel less like spacey after a session. Or you can, for me, when I'm doing readings or spirit guide work or anything like that, I kind of picture like these gates opening. And then when I'm done, I'm like, we are closing the gates. So I'm not just like getting messages for people when I'm just like making my salad for dinner, right? I was like, no, I want to have these boundaries. I think the best thing you can do for protecting yourself from that is just having strict boundaries within yourself of when I'm tapping into this, when I'm using this, when I am using it, what am I using to protect myself? And just, yeah, what Carly was saying, sort of work with that fear to realize it's just human to human. There's nothing really, in my belief anyways, cosmic that's going to latch onto you and this evil spirit that's going to like take over you. I think that's like a great horror story. I think that's a great way to like sell people your fix and your special amulet or whatever it is, but to realize that there's not as much to fear as you think.
I was also hearing the question from another angle of protecting your energy when you're around other people or maybe in your workplace, and maybe you're not a practitioner or maybe you are a practitioner, but even just protecting your energy, protecting your energetic field when you are at work or whenever you're going to see family, because I know that's something for me. It's like, how can you not allow other environments, other people to have such an impact on your own energy as well? And how can you protect your energy when you're going into these places or when you're coming back, like when you're coming back from seeing family or coming back from being out from in your workplace or just out in the world and coming back and being able to come into yourself, cleanse any other energy that's not yours, cleanse your space and come back into your energy. Yeah,
I think that's where like the crystals I mentioned and like veiling, like even you can have this like mystical veil when you're doing the work, but you could also just like wear a baseball cap, and be like, my crown chakra is protected. Intention with what you wear on you and what you're holding on yourself and just like regular cleansing.
Yeah. A big thing I kind of sometimes imagine when I'm going maybe into a workplace or into like family situations or a family home is like imagining like this bright light like around me, and it's like this bubble, and like setting that intention with myself that I am protected, that I don't have to take on other people's energy, take on other people's anger or frustration or whatever is alive for them, and place that on me, because I can do that and I can get angry or I can get frustrated. It's not actually mine to carry, and being able to set that intention before I go into those spaces so that I don't take it on and I don't take it home with me, you know? And when I do come home, being able to, like, I like to dance and shake things off or go for a shower and cleanse it off me. If we're speaking in the form of like sessions, because I know that I've started to channel EFT tapping sessions, and I said to Maggie at one point, I was like, why the fuck does my head hurt so much? And she's like, you're not closing off your channel. Like, you're now channeling, you're not closing it off. So before and after a session, I always dance. I dance before to get in the energy, and you dance after to like close that channel off and shake any energy off. But yeah, that's mine.
I feel like we could go on and on with this one, but I do just want to share something really quick that has actually, I think it ties all of our practices in really well, but it's something called anchoring that you can do. And this is something that I do before I get out of bed, before I go to bed at night, and like before and after sessions with clients, or before I enter into a new space. And anchoring is where you connect to the higher angelic realms in your spirit team, and you connect to the healers of Gaia Mother Earth. And so what I do is I envision a column of white light ascending down. I ask my spirit guides, my highest self, for support in sending, cleansing, clearing, and protecting energy down. And I see this white light kind of encapsulate like the top of a sphere. And then I anchor down into Mother Earth, and I call on the healers of Gaia Mother Earth to support me in protecting, cleansing, and grounding my energy. And I see like a green sphere of light meet that bottom half. And then in the center, I like take a nice deep breath, and I just see this golden energy radiate so strongly that it literally like repels anything. Like it just becomes so bright in my heart center, but I'm anchored into those two places, the higher angelic realms, the lower like earth realms, and then within myself as well. So you can try that out. And a quick thing, if you know you have a local crystal shop and you like protection spray, I swear by protection spray. I know like you don't need to buy it, but I at night was experiencing a lot of like disturbances in my sleep, and I was like fucking done with it. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not sleeping. And the lady that I trust in is my Reiki healer. She's the one I've learned so much from. And she was like, you know, I wouldn't sell you bullshit. And I know her friend that creates these, but he channels really high vibrations into a spray, basically. Like he does this thing with his spine, and it's like he gets downloads into his spine, and then through his hands, he like works and creates art and creates products. And so I started using this spray, and my sleep got so much more restful. And I don't care if it's placebo, it helped me. So, you know, buy the sprays if they help you. I like to bring the spray when I'm traveling, like spraying like, you know, my airplane seat or like random things. It's just really helpful. So get yourself a spray, get yourself into the things that make you feel like you're protected and cleansed. It really doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters how it makes you feel. And I believe that is the strongest thing. You could literally like touch grass and be like, all right, I'm protected. And if that works for you, then that works for you. It's not one thing. It's what works for you. So.
All right. Well, let's, like Carly was saying, we could probably talk forever on that, but I want to get to a bunch of different questions. So the next one I have here is buzzing and a slight pain in my head while meditating. Sometimes I get really into meditation or breath work. The lower part of my forehead, right between my eyes, will start to feel like it's buzzing/vibrating. Once I focus my energy in this place, it begins to slightly hurt, almost like when you cross your eyes for too long. What would this mean? I get this is why I really wanted to start veiling, because sometimes I feel so spacey and like so out of it when I'm hardcore channeling, not when I'm meditating as much, but you could just be like tapping into this very psychic space, or like this space where you're starting to feel the other energies around you. Because I know that I get like a fuzzy head sort of after, or even like right before I start channeling. I'll be like doing a reading and it'll be going well, and then all of a sudden I get this like fuzzy feeling in my head, and I almost feel it like stretching out from the middle of my forehead. And that's when I'm like, oh, I am tapped in. Like I this is gonna be good. Do you guys experience anything similar ever?
Yes, I remember you guys the first time that I like started to really tap into spirituality. I started getting my spiritual life coaching certification, and I remember I started to get like the buzzing around my third eye center when I was meditating, and I was freaking out. I was like, "What does this mean?" And I asked my mentor. I was like, "Girl, what is wrong with me? My forehead is buzzing." And she just started laughing and she was like, "Oh, that's so cute." I was like, "What?" I mean, like the reason why she didn't necessarily say that. She just started laughing like almost like a grandpa, like laughing at his grandson when he's like, "Oh, I just figured this thing out about the human body, or like about like the this world." And like it's just like, "Ah, like it's don't worry about it. Like it's okay." And I think just hearing that made me realize that it was safe to be experiencing that. And
And
once
it
I
is,
released,
right?
yeah, and once I released the resistance to it, and I just realized what was happening is like when you're feeling that tingling, that is your third eye space. All you're doing is you're expanding your seat of consciousness. That is all that's happening. It's not you,
It
you
sounds
know.
like this. It sounds like this person might be not afraid, but maybe afraid of your own intuitive power. Like it sounds like
Well,
your
and it feels
intuition is,
weird,
yeah,
It does
right?
feel weird. It is a weird sensation. And I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing to just when it starts to happen, try not to focus on it.
yeah,
Just say, "Hi, thank you. My consciousness is expanding and opening and I'm safe." And then
yeah.
ground yourself a bit by just like if you start to get a really bad headache when you're focusing on it, it's probably because your energy, it's like think about the pressure in your head. Like the pressure in your head when it grows, it it kind of will it will cause you to get a headache. So what you need to do is you need to relax because it's like you're tightening, you're tightening the top of your head so that it can't like open up and just relax. If you were to just relax and sink down, then you can experience like almost a releasing of pressure.
It's a muscle. Like you're opening and using this intuitive muscle. And so think about like you haven't worked out, you haven't gone for a run, you haven't done too much stuff in a while. And then all of a sudden you do that first workout, or you do that first run, or you go and you do something that's really active with friends, and then your muscles are like sore. And I think it's similar. It's like you're activating this muscle and your head's like, ooh, that hurt. Like I'm
Right?
a little sore because I'm not used to using
Yeah,
this.
and as soon as you said that, when I was listening to it, like I was like closing down my eyes and I was like, oh my God, like we have like such a magical, powerful community. And it's like, okay, what if you didn't question this sensation and actually allowed yourself to awaken to it and to be like, okay, like I'm not gonna be afraid of it. Maybe it's just my intuition coming alive, right? And if it does get too intense, like I have the power to just like close it off, I have the power to just like close it off and come back into my body. But also, like Maggie says, like can I strengthen my connection and my capacity to allow my intuition to speak and to be loud? That's what I got from it personally.
No, definitely. I think at the end of the day, you're just, yeah, learning not to be afraid of it and realize that this is normal. It's just your intuition coming to life and wanting to explore through that way. And if you're not ready for it, like Sophie said, like Carly said, just ground it. You can say, not right now, but it's not anything bad. So you can
But
also
whoever you
explore it.
are, if you put the question in or if you have experienced it, you are so powerful. Your intuition is so, so powerful. And it's got so much magic to say and to strengthen into. And in your own time and in your own way, you get to start strengthening and letting that come alive.
Well, let's go to the next question.
Go for
I
it.
have two different people here, and they're kind of different questions, but I think that they pair really nicely, so we can kind of just talk about it in general. The first one is how to create a feel-good morning routine, and the second one is how to center on a good spiritual practice. And I thought this was good because when sometimes we think of a morning routine, it's like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to stretch, I'm going to drink my lemon water, I'm going to, read a chapter of a self-help book, I'm going to pull myself a tarot card, I'm going to meditate. And you're trying to do so much at once that when you can't live up to those expectations, you just give it up altogether. And so one of the things of like, what's a good spiritual morning routine, how to create a feel-good morning routine, I think can go really nicely like hand in hand with how to center on a good spiritual practice. And for me, that's just like, take one thing that you're interested in, just take one thing and just start there. So like how to center on a good spiritual practice. Are you interested in crystals? Are you interested in meditating? Are you interested in affirmations? Are you interested in meditation? Are you interested in pulling a card? Energy cleansing? What is it that you feel like your soul is calling to you the most? And allow that to be that center, and then you can kind of grow from there.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't think it's one size fits all, obviously, for any morning routine or evening routine or spiritual practice. But I do think first thing I want to note here is that what you do in your morning routine or like what your go-to spiritual practices is probably going to change and shift with the seasons and as you kind of evolve and learn new practices. Something that I really found to support me, I am someone that I love meditation, but I feel like so many people struggle with it because they put pressure on themselves to do it forever or they don't know how to shift into it. And so I think for me, figuring out the technique to get into meditation was what really changed the game for me. So I think structuring my day to incorporate that. So what that is before I meditate, I do a somatic practice, whether that be chanting, tapping, or breath work. And then it puts you already into like, you kind of cleanse out the nervous system. You relax your energy so that you can be in a meditative state where you're not just being pulled by the mind. And it's much better. But you guys, this is what I do. I get up, like literally I sit up in bed and I give myself no other option. If I have to like really pee, I will like go and pee and then I'll head back to my bed. And I just sit there in my bed and I give myself just some time. I start doing breathing, or right now I love chakra chanting. So I go through the chakras, chant for each chakra 7 times. And then I just sit there in silence for like 2 to 3 minutes. And then bam, I'm done with my morning meditation and I feel so much better. I usually gain like a little piece of wisdom. I ask for a little wisdom and then I just move into my day and I have built a solid routine with like a little gua sha that I do every day. And I give myself some love and just like dance and, move to music. And maybe I do a little stretching, but that didn't happen overnight. And that also has changed throughout the seasons. So give yourself something, just one thing, kind of like Maggie said, one thing that is simple for you to do and try to make it. I really like stacking kind of habits. Like, okay, non-negotiable is I'm going to brush my teeth. So what is something I can pair with brushing my teeth? And non-negotiable is that like I get up and I have to go to bed or the bathroom every morning. So what do I do as a result? It's like create that trigger action. So like me going to the bathroom is a trigger to like go into meditation. Once I meditate, like I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, that's my trigger to do my little facial gua sha thing. So just create those kind of triggers for you that are already like the things that are already in your routine, create something on the back end of it and don't add things in too quick. Allow yourself to take some time with it. I started off with my little facial gua sha thing like in December and it became a consistent thing after about a month. And then I stacked on something else. So it's like give yourself grace and know that slow and steady wins the race when it comes to finding a routine. And then when it just doesn't feel good anymore and you're like, wow, I'm not really receiving the same benefits I did from this thing, then start playing around and see what comes next.
As an ADHD girly, sometimes it's difficult because it's like hard to stay consistent with the same time when you have ADHD because you don't produce dopamine in the same way. And so for me, something that was really helpful, the first like routine that I really, really wanted to do and I stuck to for like a year until I injured myself doing something else was yoga. And something that I did, I ended up like I started doing it at the same time every day eventually, But I would struggle with doing that. And it would basically be like, I just said to myself, you're not allowed to go to bed until you do this. So if that meant at 11:30 at night, I was doing my like 20 minutes of yoga, it was like, well, do that because that was what I just told myself. It was like, okay, I want to make this a routine. You're not allowed to go to bed until you do it because I know you'll come up with excuses all day. And eventually it was like, I'm sick of doing this at 11 o'clock at night. And I started actually making time for it throughout my day. But if that's something like if you're trying to do it at a certain time every day and you just find it's not working, just tell yourself like I can't go to bed. I want to sleep, but I just have to do this first, even if it's just something that's 1 minute or 5 minutes. And you'll find that very soon you'll be like, okay, when can I start doing this? Because I would much rather not do it at 11 o'clock at night. And it's just sort of like training yourself that like this is a part of my day, so I might as well start making time for it. And I found that really helped me.
You know, if I were to give advice, because I've now had a morning routine, and albeit maybe some days are missed out if like I am unwell or if something's going on or whatever. But I have had pretty solid, consistent morning routine for the past like 3 years because, and I feel like one of the main reasons is because I romanticize it. And I created like a corner of my living room that was devoted to my morning routine. Right next to my window, when the sun comes up, I open my windows, I make my morning coffee, which if you know me, you know how much my morning coffee is like the highlight of my day. And I sit, and that is my time to pour into myself. And I just fell in love with creating that space for myself and giving myself that time. And yes, like what I do may change, the practices I may do change depending on the seasons, depending on where I am in my cycle, depending on what's alive for me that day, right? And more times, more often than not, what I lead myself through is either a tap in. I ask myself, like, what is alive? Like whether it's a fear, whether it's a desire, what energy is alive for me this morning? And how can I either shift that or activate that? And it's either through some sort of movement or a tap in or a meditation or a journal, but really tuning into my body and into what is, whether a fear, whether a type of energy is alive, and really letting that be what guides me into what kind of practice I give myself that day that's going to support me. And through after that practice, I ask myself, okay, like how can I move from this energy today? What is one action step, or what's one action step I can do to anchor into this energy through action, so that you take this cultivated energy and do something with it instead of being like, okay, done a nice little routine, spiral back into negative thought patterns or whatever it is. Like how can you like actually use this routine as something that does support you, or these practices as something that supports you? So those are the kind of two main things that have supported me, is like romanticizing it, creating a space that is just for your morning routine, just for your practices that you love going to and you're excited to go into and you fall in love with, and having that prompt to support you in providing what, or kind of like understanding what you need that day that's going to actually support you.
Yeah. And I think what we can gather from all of our kind of bits and pieces is there's not one right way to go about it. And I
Like
think
that's
that's why,
exactly what I was going to say.
yeah,
Before anyone said anything, I was like, guys, you're before anyone says anything, you're going to
such a
see how
hard
different,
question. Yeah, to
what different
answer.
answers and how we kind of navigate our routines, and you're going to understand that there's no right or wrong way. It's like finding what works for you,
Yeah.
right?
I think, however, though, a really good place to start, like because everyone has to start somewhere, and that's how you kind of start figuring out, oh, that didn't really feel good or this feels good, is like just creating, like, I think just having one little kind of like trigger activity and just starting off with one basic thing. If you really like tapping, if you really like visiting nature, if you really like, tarot card pulls, just do that one little trigger activity like right as you wake up. And don't give yourself, like, don't make it have to be like 30 minutes. Like, just start small. Just say, okay, I'm gonna wake up now like 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before I normally do, and just setting your alarm that 10 minutes early. And then just saying, yeah, like, this is gonna be my trigger routine and this is what I'm gonna do after. I'm gonna try that out for a week, see how it feels. And then once I have feedback on that, I can start tweaking it.
What you could do is either download Carly's meditation bundle or join Maggie's membership or join my membership and have the space where you get to come to practices, unlimited practices that are going to support you and falling in love with the practices that you get to do, falling in love with having a morning routine where you're not like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? You have it there. You get to lean into it. I just wanted to put that out there because we have an overflowing
spaces
that get to support you in these routines.
I do have a morning affirmation meditation thing that you're supposed to do while you get ready in the morning, so you can play it
there you go
while you brush your teeth. Yeah.
I think things like that are like worked into it, like giving yourself like literally 30 seconds when you're having your shower, being like, I'm cleansed, I'm ready for the day. Like, just little intentional things into things you already do is also a great way. But I think we could talk about, again, routines forever.
Well, I love that one because I actually see when I'm driving to my cafe at the weekends, because I don't have as much time in the morning, I listen to my own meditation in the car while I'm driving to work. And I love it. And I actually trialed out not doing it and doing it. And it makes such a difference. I just wanted to put that in.
I have 2 more questions that we're going to do, but I know we're running out of time. So maybe we'll speed run these ones, but we can always go back to them in another episode. So the first one here, I have string of bad events in my life, bad karma, or is it punishments for selfish decisions? It feels like I'm watching the decline of my life, my body, and my mind. I feel like I must be doing something wrong, straying from a certain level of purity in my spirituality. I have obviously adopted some doubts because I'm questioning what it is that is fucking my life up so much. I left my academic pursuits to follow my spirituality, adopted an instructed way of living, gave up relationships, and I feel like now that I'm thinking of returning to university and the associated distractions that I'm no longer aligned. Was I selfish for giving these things up in the first place? Am I wrong to go back? Am I being punished? Has anyone else experienced this or has any advice? I feel like all of us can kind of
oh my God, I feel like you need to reread
right
that. I'm like sitting there like, okay, there's a lot of moving parts.
It's basically that this person feels like they've maybe made a mistake, like they felt so aligned leaving these things behind, but now they feel like a lot is crumbling around them and they've been feeling like they need to go back to these things or they need to recommit to school or a job or something that they didn't expect to be part of their spiritual path. And they're wondering if maybe by giving things up in the past, if it was a selfish decision that has led them to bad karma. And I feel like all of our lives have gone in ways that we haven't necessarily expected recently, with like your health, Carly, with your cafe job, Sophie, and like with my move, where it's like not necessarily that these things are bad, but they weren't part of the original plan. And I think it's important, like even for the person asking this, to know is that like you haven't necessarily done something wrong, and it's asking yourself, are you being pulled back to these things out of fear, or just has your path changed? And it doesn't mean that you're getting this bad karma for like cutting people out or straying away from school. Maybe that's what you needed for the time, and now you're being called to go back for a different reason, or you're being aligned with a path that you are meant to be on, or maybe it's just that things are happening differently but for a bigger purpose later. Or is it that you feel the pull to go back to school because you're fearful that things aren't going to be working out the way
what was coming through? Yeah, that was exactly what was coming through. And like what was coming through for me was like shifting this idea of like you're being punished into like preparation. because I could see maybe the struggle of business or certain situations as punishment for not going down another route or risking things, but actually can you shift that into preparation, or can you shift that into like where, like Maggie says, like you're maybe either if you're being guided back to this because of the lessons you've now learned and it's now time to go back to this other direction, or are you going back because you feel like you have to out of fear or out of obligation?
And I think it's important to remember that when like things don't happen the way you expect them to, or when things feel like they go wrong, that of course there's bad karma out there, and sometimes that is the case. But a lot of the times, like if you're living with your best intentions in your heart, I think sometimes things go wrong. And yes, maybe it's the universe like pushing you in a certain direction, but sometimes you're not ready to like see that direction. Like I think there's definitely times with like me moving back to Canada where it's like everyone said it's for a reason, it's for a reason. I was like, part of me understands that, but part of me is not ready to understand what that reason is.
To accept that. Like,
and sometimes you just need to accept, like, I don't need to reflect on this deeper. I don't need to figure this all out right now. I just have to accept that this is where I am right now and see where it goes.
Yes, and I definitely think when you're in the middle of like a really confusing kind of period where you're being thrown around and you're like, why the fuck is this happening? It can feel like you are being in victim, like you're literally a victim and the universe is like punishing you to some degree. But I want you to just reflect and remember that when you made that decision, whatever it was really in alignment. And like that's what you said, it felt in alignment, like you felt really called to do this. So they're like, don't think that the universe is like this person up there being like, you did this wrong, you were too selfish for choosing yourself and letting this go and now choosing a different path. Like, you are not being punished, you are simply see this as maybe a redirection, and I would give yourself the opportunity to explore new avenues. Maybe it doesn't look like reverting back to something you did in the past, but even stepping into something new. Maybe you know that, okay, what I'm doing right now doesn't feel good and I don't really know what comes next, but the clarity you are receiving right now is that what you are moving through is not feeling great. And so what gets to come afterwards, once again, reflect is going, don't think of it as a going back to those things, right? Going back to school, like moving back, but is your next step moving forward into school? Is that from a place of like, this is my next step, this is what feels like it's in alignment with my heart? Or is it a new path that you don't even know before? And is that what's creating so much fear? Like, okay, I was here and I thought this was what it's going to be and now it's not. And I'm like, oh my God, the world's fucked. And now I have to go back to what I've been doing. Like, is that the only thing? No, maybe it's neither path. Maybe it's a whole new one lighting up. And I don't know when you ask this question, but it's giving like literally like 2024. It's giving 2024, or at least ever since the pandemic.
It's giving the chaos of 2024.
It's giving the chaos of 2024. So know that if you ask this question in 2024, this is a very big collective theme. Like shit hitting the fan, things sometimes you have that tower moment before the clarity comes in, before something new comes in, before you can see the bigger picture. Hindsight is always 2020. You reflect back and you say, oh, okay, that's why the puzzle pieces couldn't fall together there, because I had to create a new picture. Like, it wasn't even supposed to be that puzzle. I was so focused in on creating the garden puzzle, but I was meant to live in the cosmic puzzle. Like, I don't know what it is for you, but just give yourself a chance to breathe and just say, this is really challenging, but I don't need to know it all right now. All I know is I'm moving through a time of transition, and this is a time for you to explore. This is like the adventure unfold. This is the adventure beginning. Maybe it's school, maybe it's something else. Just try something new, step into new territory, and see where it brings you.
And if you're still going through this, or if you're coming out the other side and you have a bit more clarity, please reach out and let us know how things are going. Give us an update. We want to hear from you.
I would also like to invite this person to, because I don't want them to be making decisions or going a certain way out of this fear. I want you to be taking a step from that intuitive desired place. So underneath this fear that may be loud, underneath this fear, this noise that may be loud, you could just breathe into yourself and just tap into what's underneath that fear, like the desire that you want. What is underneath that fear? The fear of making the wrong decision, the fear of being punished. Underneath that, what is that deep desire that you want? And can you put that victim to the side? Can you put that fear to the side? Like, let it be there, like holding space and capacity to hold the fear as well, but also the capacity to let your desire to come forward so that you can start making decisions from that place as well, so that you don't can spiral back into this doubt of, did I make the right decision? Was that the wrong decision? Like, you can start strengthening your trust and the desires that you have and taking steps from that place with the fear as well. So I just want you to start trusting yourself, to start like tapping into what you deeply desire, what you deeply want, and allowing the universe and your intuition to guide you in that path and making that happen, whether it is going back to school, whether it's not going back to school, and making sure that you are taking those steps from a place that aligns with you so that you don't spiral back into regret or feeling like you are being punished.
And there's not one right path. Keep reminding yourself that. Like, life is not meant to be linear. And when we're in the moments where we have a blow up of like, wow, I thought it was going linear and now it's like all these paths illuminate, you're like in the oh fuck zone. And once again, it's an invitation for you to recognize like it's a playground. Life is a playground. Try something on, try something new. Maybe you go to school again and it doesn't feel good. And so you pivot into trying something else, or maybe going to school leads you to someone else, or, you know, you decide it's not even school, it's some other thing you want to do and you volunteer. I mean, something I love doing, and I don't want to be, you know, that person that like makes you do this or like says you need to do it, but traveling or like getting out of your space and getting out of your zone of comfort is so clarifying. Like, just you get to breathe again and really be in this new version of yourself. And I think that's what 2024 has been. It's been like smacking you, getting you out of your comfort zone so you can release the ties to everything you thought you were so that you can invite in everything else. When you become nothing, you become everything.
Think about who you were before you started your spiritual journey. I bet you never envisioned that you would be like, you know, leaving school or cutting things out. Like at the beginning of when you started school, and then, you know, when you did decide to step away from school, and when you did cut these people out of your life, there was a time when you could never imagine even that as a possibility. So just because you can't imagine certain things and how they would even work, or that like this is even a version of you who would do something like this, doesn't mean that you're not going to a place eventually that's going to serve you, right? It just means that you don't have the full picture yet. We had one more question that I really wanted to get to about angel numbers and interpreting signs, but I just don't think we have time. I think this is already a really long episode, so we will be doing these every single month. So make sure you tune in next month, where we know we'll start right off the bat with angel numbers and interpreting signs and messages. So make sure you come back. And you know what? If you guys really love this, if you love this and you're sending us messages and we have more than we can do and it's just piling up and up and up, maybe we'll just be forced to make this a more, a more often occurrence instead of once a month. Right now, we're going to be doing it as a bonus episode once a month. Maybe we'll have to do it bi-weekly or weekly. It's in your hands. So if you have questions, whatever they are, whether they're big or small, or you just want to share your spiritual experiences with us, you want to tell us like a paranormal experience, a spiritual experience, a big awakening, something interesting that you found, questions or stories are welcomed. We'd love to talk about them, and hopefully we can start doing these episodes more and more because they're so fun and we love connecting with you. Like, of course, we love just chatting and just sitting here and talking with each other and talking about different topics and ideas, but we love connecting with community. And so much of what we do, the three of us together, is cultivating this space where we can talk and be open and be real and be comfortable with the changes of a spiritual journey and with energy that we don't quite understand, and exploring it and understanding it together. So if you want to continue to grow this space, send us a question. Feel free to DM any of us on Instagram. You can also DM us at our collective Instagram at theritual.co, which will be linked below, or you can email us at divinegossipgirls@gmail.com, and we will answer your questions in a future episode. I hope you enjoyed today. It was fun, don't you guys think? Did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah, I love this episode.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I love bringing them into the space. I'm like, come on,
Me
guys.
too.
We are
So
the
if-
Divine Gossip Girls. Like, we
We are.
all are. You are. We all are.
Let's
So
make
let's
this
gossip,
a
let's chat.
community tea table, please.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed today's episode, if you want to hear more questions or stories talked about and answered, or you're just like, I want more content and I would love 2 episodes a week, well then get your questions in so we can create more for you. We will see you next week, and we will see you next month for a bonus Divine Girls Hotline episode, and we cannot wait to answer more of your questions. We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.